Hello and welcome back once again to Sandwich Fire Department Today. I'm your host, Larry Machado, and with me today, my guest, Deputy Chief John Burke, affectionately known as JJ amongst town. So how you doing, Deputy?
Good, Larry. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So in the off chance that I'm actually correct, okay, and there's one or two people out in this town that don't know who you are or know anything about you, how about you fill us in where you came from, how you got to this position that you're at now?
Okay, my family moved here in 1977. I went through Sandwich Public Schools, through the Wing School, up through the Sandwich High School. Upon graduation of high school, I took a job with the police department as a custodian. That was my part-time job going through Cape Cod Community College. And at that point, Chief Warity was the police chief at the time, and I took the civil service exam, and the opportunity to be either a police officer or a firefighter came up. And at the time, Chief Newman was the fire chief, and I spoke with him, and I ended up taking the fire department opportunity. I dispatched for 3 years, and then got on the floor as a firefighter for 9. And then I was promoted to fire prevention officer in 2005. I spent 9 years there, and then was promoted to deputy fire chief in May of 2014.
Excellent. So you mentioned about being work for the town of Sandwich Police Department. If I remember correctly, you also did some police work outside of the town of Sandwich, actual police work as a reserve police officer.
Yes, I did. For one summer, I was a reserve in Sandwich, and I also dispatched, and that was in the summer of '93.
All right, excellent. So you're pretty much well-rounded in both sides of community service and public service.
Yes.
Today we're going to talk about a couple of things. This Community Risk Reduction Division in the fire department, and a new thing called the Sterilis machine. There's a lot of people out there that not really know what's going on. Mm-hmm. Before we really get into that, I've noticed when you became deputy chief and our new chief, Chief Carrico, there's been a lot of changes around the department, and you don't always see eye to eye on things, and I personally think that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. Your views versus his views, and sometimes you come together in different directions. How do you feel that works out?
Oh, I think it works good. Back when Chief Carrico was promoted to chief, we were both going for the chief's job, and once we both had completed our assessments, we compared notes as to things that we would like to see the department move forward with, and we were about 75% on the same page, I think, which is good. And we do differ in some areas, but that's how the relationship works, and that's why it works so well. The key areas that we agree on always are firefighter safety and what's best for the town. His background, he has a little bit more of a medical background as a paramedic. I'm an EMT basic. So we look at things differently when it comes to some of the medical stuff. I have more experience in incident command through both my teaching outside of here and all the training I've done. So I've been able to help him along in that aspect. He's been an excellent mentor, very strong administrative chief, and he's very, very good to work for. And I think us working together, we've literally made over 70 changes since 2014 to the department. Some big, some small, but I think all the changes we made have brought the department to where it is today, and I think we positioned ourselves to be in a good position for the next 5 to 10 years.
Excellent. Yeah, I actually really enjoy the change you made with the promotions.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Yeah. I like that. Before we go on and talk a little bit more about other things, I want to touch on something that we kind of got off a little bit when we did your intro. Mm-hmm. You've been teaching a lot lately, both locally and across the country, actually. I mean, I know you've been out to the state of Washington to do some classes out there, and you even been dubbed a little, you got your own
I have a Native American
Native American name,
yes.
Nickname. So why don't you touch on, if you could please, how you've taken that education that you've learned through the NIMS and such, and since 9/11 evolved, and how what that all is about, the National Incident Management System, and so people out there understand exactly what they're getting with their deputy chief. It's not just the local boy that we talked about who went through the ranks and he's a good old boy, so he got the job.
Yep.
But no, it's a little bit beyond that.
Yeah, I think I was very lucky. In 2008, we did a drive-through flu pandemic at Corpus Christi, and it was to test our emergency dispensing site plan. And while that was going on, there was a representative from Boston University who was there just to watch. And he approached me and said they were starting a new master's program in emergency management. They had 10 positions, 10 spots. They were recruiting all over the country. It would be a free education with the caveat to teach for 2 years roughly upon graduation. So I took the opportunity and jumped on it and got one of the 10 slots. So I spent a year and a half getting my master's degree and it's actually housed in the medical school at Boston University. The master's is in healthcare emergency management. And what that enabled me to do is to do or become a member of the faculty after my 2-year stint. I've been a member since 2011. I teach night classes. I do usually a class a semester, though I'm moving up the seniority tree now. I get the spring off. But what that enables me to do is to do research and explore other areas that actually benefit the department here. So as part of my faculty appointment, what you have to do is community outreach and also conduct research. So I've been fortunate enough to have the support of the university to do some projects that have crossed back over here that have benefited the department. Whether it's manpower studies, whether it's emergency management structure, whether it's preparedness. One of the things that came out of the Boston University experience was we studied social media back in 2012, 2013, and the impact it can have on local communities. So I started doing Facebook posts during weather events, going back a couple years ago as an experiment, and part of it was all my students I had 100 students at that point that I had taught. They're scattered all over the country, and they wanted to kind of see what was going on here, and then how to structure a kind of an update that would be eye-appealing to residents. They could read it quick and then move on. So I spent a year and a half doing research at the university. We're looking at the different social media platforms. One of the things we came up with is it's all about trusted sources when you put social media work out there, and what they told us is if you screw up once, you're probably going to lose everybody. So when you put information out there, put your name to it, make sure it is accurate. So that's one of the things that I've been doing the last couple of years now, where it's an important part of the community service. It's important for people to get information. We do have access to certain pieces of information the general public does not. How you frame that and put that out there through social media is critical. Yeah. I teach my students that all the time. One word can get you in trouble, but showing that community engagement, and I think other departments have followed suit with that. It's important. Folks a lot of times now are not watching the news. Okay. They do not watch the 6 o'clock news or the 7 o'clock news. They get their information from social media in real time. And so that's one of the biggest things that's come out of my work up there, is the ability to do and conduct research. And I get some pretty cool projects that I get to work on the side. And again, I think that helps me professionally with this job to have that ability to do that. So I've been very blessed and lucky to be able to get a master's education at very short money, and the only it's kind of like ROTC. I spent 2 years teaching for them, and then earned myself a faculty position. It's something I love to do, and I think it'll again help me through the rest of my career, and then eventually when I retire, I would have something I can still hold on to and remain engaged in the field. So I'm very pleased with that.
That's good. Yes, I mean, and I don't mean to rub it in, but I know you were out of town this recent storm, Storm Riley, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So and you were chomping at the bit to get back here.
Yep.
And you were back here, I want to say maybe an hour, and you already had a couple of posts up there.
Oh yeah. No, I think because people are wondering what had happened, and
what happened? There's no posting.
I haven't missed a storm in 20 something years, and I did have a vacation schedule, but I was able to come back. And I made it back Sunday and talking with the chief, and I heard from a few people, and it's important that, it's good that people like the information, but it's also important you have a backup in case I'm not here. And again, Lieutenant Brzezinski did a great job. He was maintaining the Facebook posts, and again, it shows you the value of information. And it was hard for me to be, down in Washington, D.C., watching what's going on up here. being in contact with the chief. But again, we have a great group of men and women, and they're very professional, and they did a great job. And it was good to see them carry out the operation. I did a little bit of work before I left, and the chief kept me appraised as to what was going on. And then now we're right back at it again with another storm coming Wednesday and possibly another one on Monday. So it never ends.
Never ends. I couldn't say it any better than that. You're right. Facebook can make or break you.
Yes.
You get the right information out there, and it's helped us an awful lot. Where we've had a pretty good accident on a certain road, you've gotten it out there, the information out there. As people are leaving for work, they see it, they divert, and it alleviates a little bit of issues on our end of it as well.
Yeah, so it's definitely important.
A great job with that. I know we're running a little long, but we're gonna keep going, and we'll chop it up a little bit. But let's go to Community Risk Reduction Division. That's the new buzzword in the fire service. Has been out for about 5 or 6 years, I think now, maybe a little longer. But what exactly? This show is all about telling the people in town a little more about their fire department. It's not just a bunch of men and women who hang around waiting for a fire to come in or an ambulance call to come in. There's a lot more we do up front with community service and helping people. This division came in, Community Risk Reduction. And let's elaborate a little bit on that. What do the citizens of the town of Sandwich get with this program?
So this is where Chief Carrico and I, when we were going through the assessment, both were on the same page. And we talked about implementation, and we had a structure in place already. There's a fire prevention officer position, which I held for 9 years, and you're in the community, and that's a key position that does safe education, student awareness fire education for the schools. So we already kind of had that piece pegged. One of the things we looked at was you look at the demographic of your community and the elder population in town and healthcare. So you have these two things intersecting, and one of the things we looked at as a community wellness program, and we did it as a pilot project with the Council on Aging. And they identified 10 clients. We paired them up with 4 of our firefighter EMTs or paramedics. They would get 3 clients, and they would, through grant money, they would visit these folks at predetermined times once a week. They would make sure there were no trip hazards in the house, that their medications were being taken appropriately. If they needed anything, they coordinated a lot with the VNA, visiting nurse, and the town nurse. So the pilot was highly, highly successful looking at it. And again, that's the future of medicine. Future pre-hospital medicine is to decompress the hospitals and home care, which is a preferred method by a lot of people. So we were able to prove as part of this, and BU was part of this also, I was able to get some help from the university on this, that this is a critical outreach. And when you're able to identify these people and at least meet with them once a week, and it's usually offset from the VNA or any other nursing visits that they would have, you're able to see people in their real environment. You go on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, you see what's in the refrigerator. If there's no food there, we're now able to refer them to Meals on Wheels. And we actually are there for the first delivery for the people. If the client happens to be hospitalized for some reason or in a nursing home recovering, the visit is then moved to the hospital or the nursing home, where our EMT or medic would go there and sit with them and say, hey, do you need anything? How's everything in the house? Can we help? Notify any family members. It was a very rewarding, I think, experience. We're looking to expand on that now. We know that there's a need for it. And again, working with our partners at Council on Aging and through the Town Nurse and Visiting Nurse Association, we'd like to see that expand. So that was one piece of it. We've been doing car seat checks for years. So we had 2 members who were certified to do that. So we incorporated that as part of it also through grant money. So we had the community wellness program, we had the car seat, and we called it the Pediatric Risk Reduction Unit. Then we looked at, as part of fire prevention, the Juvenile Fire Setter program, which you're a part of. And again, reaching out and interacting and basically intervening with kids that are at this threshold that they need some type of intervention and with fire starter behavior. So you've taken that and run with that and worked with the district attorney here. And again, another critical component. It's all about reducing risk to the community in some form or fashion. And that's where the chief and I both said, we got to do this thing. We got to do it right. We need people to buy into it. We're always expanding on it. I think the drone program is going to be the next piece with that, and there's a whole bunch of hurdles that go with that, but we're ready to start going down that road. And again, you're going to see more and more that the term fire prevention officer is going to go away. And you will see the term community risk reduction, because it's all hazards. We're looking to reduce the risk to everybody in the community, regardless of what it is. And just some of these units that we've identified as part of it. And the final piece is the data analysis unit, which everything's numbers driven. And that's something I'm working on now, where we provide those numbers, get those key demographic numbers, and see what we're looking at. We're able to look at different districts in the town as to age, makeup, again, occupancy, type of occupancy. A lot of this can be through the GIS department through the town, which gives us the accurate information. So again, using all of these things, bringing it all together, the final piece of it is we need to reduce the risk to the community, and these are the ways and the avenues we're going to utilize to do it.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, the difference, like the drone. Let me just talk about the drone for a quick minute.
Yep.
I went to a couple classes for that, and what we have to go through in order to legally use that. So everybody knows out there that we do have a drone. It's a Phantom 4 that was actually donated to us.
Yes.
Somebody actually donated it to us. I don't know exactly who it was, and I don't know if they want to say who it is. If they want to remain anonymous, but it was a good. I want to say it was a good $1,500 donation, which is fantastic. I mean, what we're doing in 2018, what other departments are doing in 2018 with these drones are incredible.
Yep.
We're getting a lot of information. We can get a lot of information through the storm.
Yes, coastline evaluation, which is one of the things we're looking. We may do a quick training run and take a look at the erosion factor down at Town Neck Beach with that. So again, it's a reducing risk. It's just another, and it's not being used as a law enforcement tool. I think that's the important piece. Right. Again, we're looking at it in different ways. Brush fires, being able to spot where fires are deep in the woods without committing people necessarily right away, to put eyes on it. So again, that's the next piece I see coming in risk reduction.
Excellent, excellent. The data analysis, we talked about the data analysis and how there's been a lot of controversy, I guess, or everybody has a better way of doing things, and placement of the stations, and why didn't they move headquarters over here, or why didn't they build a new station here? Why did they do it the way they did it? And as you touched on with the data analysis, that was one of the things I think was a big key element as to placement of the stations. Where the most call volume is, the higher call volume, we want to be able to get to those people faster.
Yep.
So all of that came within this community risk reduction program.
It is, and looking at Google's a great tool in terms of Google Maps. We were able to draw out, and actually, whoever put Station 2 in East Sandwich where they did in the 70s did a great job. Because again, it's going to reach 90% of the town in the NFPA allotted time of really 8 minutes or less. You want to be on scene. So just moving headquarters, or the Station 3 to Quaker Meeting House at Katuah Road, does shave a minute or two off some of the Snake Pond Road area, but it gains it in the South Sandwich area.
Much bigger area.
So, and where the downtown station is now on 6A, you have several high hazards. The power plant being one, the ESCO terminal being another, the nursing home being another, the wing school, which is housing the collaborative at the moment. So, in terms of station placement, I think we're in good shape. And I think it's important for people to understand the Station 2 piece. We're going to be ready to open that in the coming weeks. But what a fantastic bang for your buck for the taxpayers here. The majority of that station, a good chunk of it, was just the septic. Being able to, because we had to upgrade the septic system, but it's a no-frills vanilla ice cream edition that serves its purpose. There's no Taj Mahal mentality to it. It is a basic addition that's going to really benefit not only the residents of town, especially those in East Sandwich, where you're going to see an 8 or 9 minute response down to 2 or 3 minutes. And again, when you're talking 5 minutes, it seems like an hour. So we're very proud of that, what we've done at Station 2. And again, what we're doing at Station 3 is a prefabricated building. And it's vanilla ice cream. It is the basics. My office right now is in a closet. And I said, I don't need a big office. I just need a little bit bigger space. So if I need to bring somebody in, I can have a conversation with them. But, other than that, I think through the fiscal guidance and Chief Carrico and the administrators here in town looking at the big picture, it's never, it's costly to do new construction, but I think the way we've done it with Station 3 and then the East Sandwich Station has been excellent.
Now, I've heard a lot of grumblings, and I know we're going a couple of different directions here, but I heard a lot of grumblings both in the townspeople as well as the department, and why do we need to start our shifts? We start our shifts now with 10-man minimums.
Correct.
And they're like, wow, 10 men. You need 10 people on duty at one time to start your shift? There's a couple of reasons for that. We have a lot of multiple calls going on.
Yep.
The amount of call volume that we have warrants that.
Yes.
That amount of people. And something that a lot of people don't know about, and because they don't always tune into the selectmen's meeting. I know you and yourself and the chief talked about the ISO ratings.
Yep.
What do you get with 10 men on the shift versus 9 men on a shift? What's the difference?
So I think the couple things with if you go back 20 years, so take it back, we've always looked what is the magic number to kind of reduce overtime and provide the optimal coverage. Because again, having 10 people at the start of a shift is critical, right? And I think having 3 dedicated 3-man ambulance crews in town, 1 at each station, and a shift commander who's free and separate from commitments of the ambulance has been the key point. And since we've done that, there's been a reduction in standby overtime. We're not calling in as much. There was a time when we only had 5 people on duty, and we were running 14, 15 calls with 5 people. Now we're doing an average 12 to 20 calls in a 24-hour period, and we're able to handle most of our business. And again, all I care about is the residents here of Sandwich. And in the past, we were relying on our mutual aid partners. And now having those 10 people on duty, and especially during the day where you have a 10-man minimum plus the chief and I, fire prevention and EMS, there's 14 people you can throw at a fire. And the NFPA likes to see the number 16 within 10 minutes, give or take. And you mentioned the ISO, the Insurance Service Organization's rating, and the lower your ISO number, the better, and it directly affects your homeowner's insurance. So the 2 things that are important for people to realize in East Sandwich is, A, having a man station is absolutely critical. That means 24/7 coverage, which you will have. The second more important piece of that is what type of equipment do you have there, because there are parts of East Sandwich that do not have municipal water. So I just had an insurance person come in from Boston last week saying, well, how much water can you throw at a fire in the first 10 minutes? And I said, well, we have an engine tanker that'll be in East Sandwich that has 1,500 gallon capability. We have another tanker of 2,500 gallons, plus we're going to have 3 other trucks coming. We can really get significant amount of water on scene at that fire. And again, that's key. We need to get the number down. ISO 1 is the gold standard. And again, you're looking at your big departments, Los Angeles City Fire Department, Las Vegas, Chicago. They have ISO 1 ratings. We just want to get ours down into the 3s. Again, for a community our size, I think that's important.
So 10 years ago or so, say 10 years ago, what was our ISO rating?
I think we were a 5,
and 5,
6, and
okay.
we're on a 4 bordering a 3.
So we're right there.
Real close.
We're close, and we're doing it. And as we're getting closer, the citizens are seeing a savings. They may not see it in their taxes, which we hear a lot. Our taxes are going up. We're getting nothing for the taxes. Well, your taxes may be going up to support multiple departments throughout the community, and for what it helps us with at the fire department, we're increasing our manpower. So your taxes may go up a little bit. On the other side, your homeowners is dropping.
Right, it should, and you should see, and I encourage everybody, and this is where I put my university hat on, because I've done insurance research for the past 5 years, and we've looked at multiple ways, whether it's Medicare on the medical side, or we're talking ISO. The best thing I was ever told by an insurance agent is, basically, you're still going to screw up whatever's going to happen. Nobody handles everything perfectly. What insurance companies are looking for is how badly you're not going to screw it up. You're still going to screw it up, but you're lessening that impact. That's all insurance is. And training, station placement, apparatus, staffing, all go into that. And I've taken a lot of what I've learned through the research in there, and we try to apply it here. And that's why staffing that station with the appropriate trucks in the appropriate location, and then we require at least an hour of training a day amongst our employees. Right. So, and all that is logged in, it comes to my computer, and I save it in my ISO file. And we're able to show the insurance companies when they come in to do their evaluation that, wow, Sandwich went from a 5-6 with a 6-man or 6 firefighter shift opening with very little training to a 10-man minimum with an hour of training a day, so 300 to 400 training segments in a calendar year with all of this equipment that's up to date and operational. Mm-hmm. That does have a direct correlation to your insurance. And that's one of the PSAs you will see when the station officially opens, is I would petition anybody just to go to their homeowner's insurance and say, hey, listen, now I have a manned fire station. We're not talking hundreds of dollars of savings. It's going to depend on your property, but there's going to be some impact. Because again, the insurance companies have said to me, well, now you've made it a little better. So why are you paying the same amount of money when things are actually better?
Right.
There should be some type of reduction there. The town has taken it on to make these services better, so that lessens the risk. Therefore, it shouldn't be passed on to you as the homeowner. You should have some savings in there. And again, and I also mentioned, we'll dovetail quickly off of that, those that have their car seats installed by our car seat techs get a slip upon completion, and it's a certification the car seat's been installed correctly. This is key for the grandparents.
Yes.
And my mother went through it, and you take the certificate to your car insurance and show that you've had the car seat properly installed, and there is a slight savings there also for that. So again, it's a benefit of teaching at a university to be able to have access to people and resources to look at these certain issues, and then the insurance industry is one that I've looked at and tried to carry through down to here and implement in the department.
Nice. So our community risk reduction isn't only reducing the risk. I'm surprised I can get through that whole thing.
Yeah, it's a good...
Community risk reduction division is not only reducing the risk to the community, but it's also saving them money.
Correct.
And like you said, it's not hundreds of dollars, but you're also not spending it on your taxes.
Yeah,
the difference. I mean,
the difference. And it's, I know, so, and I understand, it's you know, it's hard, but any savings that we can provide, but more importantly, increasing the service.
Right.
So increasing the service is key. And again, that's what we're trying to do. And when you see Station 2 opened in East Sandwich, it's going to make such a difference, I think, for those people down in East Sandwich. And again, the impact, you will notice it right away, response-wise and safety-wise. But again, I implore people to reach out to their insurance providers once that station is open to say, hey, this is what we have. And we will say in our PSA, if you have questions, have your insurance provider. They can call me directly. They can call the chief directly. We can explain and give them all the numbers, you know, as to what the insurance companies are looking to hear. Mm-hmm. And that's something that we will provide.
Good, excellent. So, and I'm sorry again, I know we're down at headquarters there on 6A, but you came back from that storm and found water in your office.
Yeah, that's
or your closet now.
Yeah, my closet is fine.
We'll get to that.
I'll
get
fix
through that later. So the last portion I want to talk about with you is the Sterilis machine. Mm-hmm. The Sterilis is the name of the company.
Correct.
I'm going to let you elaborate a little bit on what this machine does, but up to this point, if I'm correct, and I'm probably not, but it was it a county or it was a state mandate that we were to collect shops from people?
Yeah, so
citizens, anybody. You just drop them off without question.
Yep.
So, and for those who aren't sure, shops and needles. Anything that can break the barrier of the skin, that has broken the barrier of the skin of somebody else. They have if you go to a hospital, your doctor's office, they have the little red biohazard things, and we're going to show you a picture of it. And in that there is where you're supposed to put your needles, your dirty used needles. The police officers are driving around town with shops containers so that if they get a call to go to one of the beaches, they can go to those beaches and pick up the shops that people are finding. You don't want your child, coming across those all the time. So that's kind of nice. So we were faced with this. People were bringing their shops. Whether it was shops they were finding on the roadside, they put them in a coffee can, bringing them to us, or it was a diabetic patient who has to take their insulin, and they were bringing them. They had no place to bring these shops containers, so It was mandated. They bring them to the fire station. They come up to here, the fire station, the police station, drop them off, and then we had to have this big. We had this big locked bin so nobody could get in there. We put all the shops inside of that, and then once a month, I believe it was, somebody from the county came by, picked them up, and it wasn't really for free either, was it?
It was initially. So there was a mandate that these needle drop centers where you could drop off needles, and the firehouses were the natural conduit for that, 24/7 accessible. So what happened with us, we were faced with that issue, and again, we took needles, and they were actually in our 2-car garage when we were storing them, and with these past storms, it always made me nervous having medical waste
float away
in the garage, potentially. So with our community wellness folks, when we did the pilot program, they went out, some of them came back and said there are people that are storing diabetic needles, you name it, in cans. They don't know how to dispose of them. They've been told by some people to soak them in bleach and throw them in the regular trash stream. And this is going back to 2014. So again, my affiliation with the university, I was able to say, hey, this is my research mission, is medical waste management, because I see it as 2 things. Really 3. It's environmentally hazardous for if you're disposing of this incorrectly. And again, that was one of the main concerns. The fire service needs to reinvent itself. And again, looking to the future, fires are down. We're being asked to do more. So what other lanes can we get in that'll provide an impact to the community? Those were my first 2 initial things that I looked at. And then the third avenue here is you have the opioid crisis. And so you have the opioid crisis, the diabetic crisis in this country, which is an epidemic in itself.
It's out of hand.
And these 2 things are running parallel, and we're receiving all of these, the medical waste. So Sterilis, which is a Massachusetts-based company, they're out of Boxborough, they were building this machine. It's no bigger than a photocopier. It takes distilled water and 110 electricity, that's it. And you put the container in, and it heats it up to the appropriate decontamination temperature for a certain period of time. They actually exceed the temperature by 15 degrees and exceed the time by 10 minutes. And it would cook it up and then grind it into a fine confetti, and it was treated. So all the contaminants had been removed, and you could throw it in the regular trash. So now we are making something good out of this. So I approached the company and told them about our wellness program, and I don't even know if they were a company at the time, but they said, well, we have the second machine off of the line right now. You guys want to try it with your wellness program and report back to us of what it looks like. So we have the second machine, and we put it in play, and right away the thing took off. And at the same time, the county approached us and said, we're not taking your needles away for free anymore. It's going to be X amount of cost. So we were well positioned at that time to say, okay, we said to the company, can we extend the pilot project for a year? We were able to take the medical waste, the needles, and more people were bringing stuff in. And it's to the point now where we're getting 3 to 5 drops a day. So that's 12 to 1,500 contacts with the public. And it's anything from diabetic to vitamin B12 injectors to those who have trouble with fertility shots, hospice patients, pet medications, you name it, we've seen it, we have it. So we've had that ability to have a direct impact to the community, and people are very thankful. It doesn't cost them anything. They drop it off, no questions asked. Everybody says, oh, the opioid crisis is a big part of it. It's about 10% of what we see. So the machine has been a godsend. It's been here. They've left it. They haven't taken it back yet. It's a $50,000 item that we have no charge because we were the leaders initially in this field. And I'm happy to say it survived the storm. It get flooded out. And it'll be moved up to our new station. And again, it's important for people to realize if they have that type of medical waste, to please bring it to us. If you have pre-filled medications, the syringes still have medicine in them, we actually put them in another bin. They go to the local veterinarian in town who's part of a third world relief organization. They go use those medications down in the Caribbean to treat animals, which actually helps prevent disease from coming up this way. It's kind of, we call it the Pay It Forward program. So the machine is great. They've been great to work with, and it's made a huge impact, I think, in our community. And we see people from other towns too that are bringing stuff to us, and you put it in, and in 47 minutes you have what was a sharps container, now fine confetti that's been treated and can be handled with the bare hands.
No, there's a YouTube video out, and I like to, when people ask me about that machine, what is it about, what does it do, and when I've seen the machine work, and every now and then the thing's taken apart because there's something they want to fix or tweak, or they want to update, and the gentleman from Sterilis come down, they do their thing. But when they showed it, it's like this. There's a YouTube video when they take a car and they're dropping it in at a junkyard, and there's these jaws just crunching this thing up.
That's
that's exactly what the machine does.
That's exactly what it does.
It's pretty cool. It's interesting.
It was actually designed on a napkin, according to the CEO. He's from Australia, and he was telling me the story. And I told him, I said, this is such a hidden crisis in this country. Healthcare in general is one crisis. Now we're looking at home care, and folks not knowing what to do with their medical waste. And if they're putting it in the regular trash stream, you have the exposure issue for any workers, but also anything that gets into the water table for medicine actually, lessens the ability of antibiotics to work. So it was something we kind of stumbled on, but now it's and we get to treat our own medical waste from the ambulance. We can put blood-soaked rags, go right in there, same thing. They get ground up and sterilized. So we were at the right place at the right time to do that, and I've told other departments, I said, this is part of the future of the fire service, is this community risk reduction. This is just another avenue for us to do that.
I mean, you're right. I've noticed when you look online for National Fire Academy classes, Mass Fire Academy classes, community risk reduction, how to promote it, how to work it, how to develop a program or a division, it's all over the place.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's no question it's just taken off, and this is the way to go in 2018 and then some. So I know there's been a couple of chiefs or their designees that have come by and real quick to kind of look at this machine and understand, because in other departments, how much are they spending?
You
to
can
get rid
spend,
of the medical waste.
It depends. It could be upwards of $5,000 to $10,000 a year in some places. Some places it's $1,000 a month, depending on what they're taking in. And again, a lot of these fire stations were taking the material and then passing it on to the hospital. Hospital was taking care of it. Now the hospitals are getting out of that. So now you have fire departments left with this material, and they have to pay to get it remediated. And what the machine does is let you be your own boss. So we handle our own business. We handle everybody's medical waste. It's not at the transfer station. I don't think it belongs there. Some places have talked about that. This is a hazardous material, and every time somebody drops off a sharps container, we give it an incident number. And I write the report on it, and we keep track. And the machine actually has a cloud-based tracking system that it uploads to the cloud. The weight, how much weight that we actually process. So think of it as the coin machine at Stop and Shop somewhat. Okay. Once the stuff goes through there, it's weighing it and lets us know how much in terms of, was it 1 pound, 2 pounds of waste, and it's all kept in a digital log, stored in the cloud, that we can produce at any time, which the old way was a pad and paper, and hopefully we had good filing.
Hopefully,
so,
yeah, you didn't lose it.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. So essentially, we're actually saving anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 for town.
Potentially,
just by using that.
Yeah, I would say we're probably in the lower half of that, $2,500. Okay. The sharps containers do cost money. The health department is cost sharing with us to provide those, which is great. So you come in with a sharps container, you drop it off, we give you another one free of charge. We're also looking at grant money through the town's insurer. Again, the insurance industry, you have to know how to navigate it, for them to give us a grant. So now nobody's paying for the sharps containers, and we're really self-sufficient at that point. Moving forward. In terms of maintenance and any equipment for the machine, it's nominal, but we use our senior safe money, which is grant funding from the state. We get about $3,000 a year, and about 25% of that is utilized for the machine maintenance. But other than that, it's self-sufficient. Again, it's environmentally impactful in a positive way, and it makes people feel good. It's part of their routine. A lot of diabetics will drop it off. Then they go grab a coffee and they head down to the canal, and they say it's part of their daily routine now. So that makes me feel good that, again, in the last 3 years, we're starting to change behaviors with that.
Fantastic. Unfortunately, I think that's all we have time for today. We went way over. We'll probably break this up into a couple of segments and get it out there. Okay. And is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think this is great, and we always appreciate the support of the townspeople. Again, I've lived here over pretty much 40 years. of my life. I live in town. I pay taxes in town. There's no other place I would rather be. And again, appreciative of all the people's support, especially with the stations. I think it's going to be a big deal, and with the SAFER grant, with the hiring of the 8 firefighters, again, the support of the townspeople for that. We are where we want to be, and that's not an easy thing to say in a lot of municipalities, but with the 10 firefighter minimum, and I think we are at that right number, and we hope that that's our plateau for many years to come.
I know, talking around the hospital and at classes, refresher and such, there are a lot of towns out there that are very envious of us, and I contribute a lot of that to our success, to both yourself and Chief Carrico, in taking the Sandwich Fire Department from where it was and moving into the current status it's in. And actually, you guys are even projecting ahead for several years.
Yep.
And I mean, that takes a lot. A lot of it comes out, like you said. Kudos to the citizens of this town. I mean, they stepped up. They see what they need. They see what we do to help them, and what they want to see from their fire department. That's what this program is about, is to let them know exactly what's out there, what we're doing to help them. So with that being said, if there's anybody has any questions at all on something that we've talked about in any past segments, or just something that comes up, and you want to shoot me an email, please feel free to shoot me an email. It's L Machado. It's LMACHADO at townofsandwich.net, and I will try to answer those questions at your next our next filming. If you have a question for the Deputy Chief, it's JBURKE, that's J Burke at townofsandwich.net. We'll get those up on the screen for you so you can see them. Tip for the day: since we had this last storm, if you lost power or you're going to lose power in future storms and your power is going to be out for a while, shut your main breaker off in the panel, okay? When the power comes up, you don't get that surge. And there'll be up and down and surging here and there. You don't want to lose any equipment. That's all I have for today.
Excellent. Thank you, Larry.
Thanks. See you again next time.